Okay. So tell me who you are.
Who I am?
Who you are.
That's too short a story.
I met Stephen Cipes on April 28th, 2015. I can still see as clear as it happened yesterday the moment he walked through that handcrafted door, the front entrance of Summerhill Pyramid Winery. I had heard of him when I was growing up. He was known as that eccentric guy who built his own pyramid. When he walked through the door, I immediately noticed his small stature. I don't see that small stature anymore. I haven't for years. As he came through the door, a smile on his face, you could feel the energy swirling around the room. I watched as everyone else began to smile. I'll never forget the way he shook my hand, sweeping outward and upward and bringing it back down to reach the level that my hand was at. I didn't know it at the time, but that entrance, that smile, that energy, and that handshake would soon lead to one of the greatest friendships I've ever experienced. A friendship that transcends friendship, a brothership. And all of this happened without him having said a single word, or even knowing who I was. It was, after all, the first time we met. A few seconds later, his VP of operations at the time said, "Stephen, this is Matthew. He's the one that's doing our self-guided tour." And I'll never forget the very first words that Stephen Cipes ever said to me. "Oh, you're the guy that does the thing with the cancer-causing devices."
Where shall I look when I'm talking to you?
Anywhere you're comfortable. Just what the most important thing is that you stay comfortable.
They can see my eyes.
Yes.
Okay.
For many of us, there is no limit to what we're willing to do for family. Some people have huge families, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, etc. The size of some families can easily number in the hundreds. For Stephen Cipes, this was no different, at first.
I was a very lonely little boy. I had great parents. I admired them so much. They were great achievers. Both had strings of letters after their names and were brilliant people. But they sacrificed a little bit to get their careers happening, especially my mom, who was, oh my gosh, she had her own column in Time and Life magazine. And in those days, in the 1940s, women were not allowed to be writing columns, or being doctors or accountants or lawyers or anything. They had to be nurses or housewives. Anyway, she bound her breasts and went out to work shortly after I was born. And that I've always, yearned for that mother's love. And I don't have to go any further with that one, I guess. But yeah, in a nutshell, it may have taught me a good lesson. Wake up, Steve, you're on your own. You are a universal resident or universal citizen here. You better stand up straight and get your act together, buddy, because you're on your own. And I am, and I have been for a long time.
Upon realizing his status in the universe, Stephen's perception of his family grew from his parents, siblings, immediate and extended family to about 2.4 billion people in the blink of an eye. And over his lifetime, that number has more than tripled. And yet, there remains no limit to what he's willing to do for his family, for you, for me, for all of us. I didn't realize this about him immediately myself, and to be fair, Stephen himself once said, "I get signals on some pretty far-fetched stuff," meaning he knows the potential perception challenge that he faces, and yet he perseveres, and he does so with a level of courage we rarely witness. But what exactly is his mission? What is this message that is so important to get out to the world? What is it that Stephen Cipes has committed his life to?
Okay. Well, certainly the word reverence is part of that, because we are here in bodies on our precious playground, planet Earth, and we are here in reverence. If we don't have reverence, if we don't have respect and gratitude for who we are and how grand we are and how grand our planet is and our universe is and all the things around us and life itself, wow, that's just a blasphemy of the highest degree. And we are suffering from blasphemy right now. We have plagues, we have huge illnesses, we have pandemics, we have fish dying, we have trees dying, we have rivers and oceans dying. Oh my gosh, the whole planet is suffering with 8 billion of us on this planet, and not having reverence. We don't give a darn as long as we have a bottom line. We've given our power away to corporations whose bottom line is all that matters. When we go out and buy stock on the market and we invest in something that mines, I don't know, chips that we put in computers at the cost of the planet's health. That's not reverence for the planet. That's only reverence for our pocketbook. And as the Chief Seattle said, when the birds start dropping from the sky, you can't eat money. Wampum. She no testa good. That's Italian wampum.
Okay, so just saving the whole entire planet. All right, no big deal. Who is this guy?
My full name is Stephen Roger Cipes. My dad named me Stephen after Rabbi Stephen Wise, who had absolute evidence that the Jewish children and families were being herded into trains and sent off by the millions to the gas chambers. And he stood on the steps of the White House to see the president. For 3 days he camped out because he wouldn't be seen, and they finally let him in. As soon as he got there and it revealed to the president the atrocities of what the Jewish people were going through, and not only Jewish people, they were herding Catholics into the trains too, and other people they didn't think belonged on the earth. The United States got involved in the war and won the war. Imagine if the Nazis had won the war, where would we be today? So yeah, Stephen with a PH, Rabbi Stephen Wise. I'm proud to be named after him. He was so dedicated he would do anything in the name of the Father. And then my middle name, Roger, he got from Roger Wilco, over and out, which was the signal of the pilots in the war. That's how they would sign on and off with their walkie-talkies. And I like the name Roger because it means Roger. It means, yeah, that's copacetic, that's good, that's a happening. And Cipes is an interesting name. My dad said that it comes from the Greek name Tsepes, T-S-I-P-E-S. And when they came over to the United States, nobody could pronounce T-S, so they said Cipes, C-I-P-E-S. Okay. And that turned out to be really good too, because Tsepes happens to be the leftover grapes that they make Sapporo out of in Greece. And so that means that the Cipeses have been in the wine business for eons, which makes me feel good.
Well, we all face choice points in our lifetime, but the question comes down to, what do we do when faced with a choice? And do we always recognize that there is a choice? Well, in the case of Stephen Cipes and his discovering that he's a universal citizen and that the world is lacking reverence, the question became at this point of choice for him, what did he really realize and what would he do next? And this is when Stephen realized that there's something not quite right in this world.
My earliest recollection of discovering that things are not as they seem in the material world is the shock of being in elementary school with my brothers and sisters, and hearing from the adults the remarks of prejudice. The words, I don't even want to repeat them. If you're Italian, you're a this. If you are black, you're a that. If you're Irish, you're a that. If you're a Jew, you're this. They had a word for every one of us and put us in a classification, in a category. And I had to grow up with this. But us kids, we were like, what are you talking about? Oh, is that me? This must be me. This is what I grew up in, a world of prejudice, BS, if you will. And it was just after World War II, so I was astounded that, my God, we gave up millions of lives to be free, and now we have to talk like this amongst each other. How stupid can that be?
Okay, we've pinpointed the early motivation. So who, along the way, guided Stephen? Who opened him up to receiving and developing the tools he would need for his mission? A lot of people, as it turns out.
I think my children are my best teachers. They are all of our best teachers. They teach us patience. My dad used to say patience and fortitude, and I never knew what it meant. I'm still not sure. But yeah, oh gosh, there's so many. I mean, my cousin Albert certainly has a lot of things to say. The gurus, they all have something beautiful to say. My friend Baba Ram Das, who I have a friendship with, he recently passed away. My friends Robert Bateman, the National Artist of Canada. I served on his board for 5 years. He's 90 years old today. He's a beautiful man. He paints nature and crusades to bring children away from their screens and out into nature. My beautiful friend David Suzuki. I'm proud to call these people my friend. I actually really know them. Hey David, how you doing, man? Stuff like this. And yeah, he's got this grassroots movement of the blue ball. All these people are great teachers. I learn something from somebody every day. We are all each other's teachers. Every child is a teacher to us. Every adult, we are all each other's teachers. We just have to be open and in the moment. It's all right in the moment. Yeah.
One thing I've learned and really come to appreciate about Stephen is he goes against the grain a lot. In fact, it's much to the chagrin of many people around him. His ideas, as forementioned, are sometimes far-fetched, but in the end, it always works out. And along this journey for myself, Stephen has confided some very controversial things with me that when I ask him a certain question and I'm expecting a certain response, the kind of response that society is conditioned to give, he says, "No way, man," and gives me a totally different way of looking at things.